Also, a big year in sports. We've been sort of, going through this new world of sports where things have changed in so many ways. Sports is such a big thing in Philly. How have you guys managed? How has how are the leagues responded? How are the fans responded? And where does that put you guys as major advertisers?
Well, the biggest change is obviously all the, we got the hockey season got cut short. The basketball season never quite got started on time. Baseball was almost non-existent for the first half of the season, and then they played with no fans. The football team played with no fans. The soccer team played with no fans. So it's been a tough go, but what we found is the enthusiasm for sports in Philadelphia has been tremendous, because I think part of that was, it always has been, but I think part of that was people were so starved for sports that they were looking for anything sports related that they could latch onto. So obviously it's a totally different situation with no one in the stands. So we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to reach these fans via the television or the radio, and we've changed a lot of our assets in stadium. For example, all the signage we had with the Phillies and the Eagles and the Flyers and the Sixers, we've changed so that we had much more signage that was camera visible, because obviously signs in the stadium, when there's, you're used to having 40,000 people for a baseball game and there's nobody there, there's nobody looking at it. So the teams and the leagues responded, I think, very well in making some changes, specifically baseball, where when you're involved with your local team, you're absolutely involved with MLB, because everything is sacrosanct and sacred, and they want to do what they want to do. So there was never signage on the field, it would be on the outfield walls or what have you. But this year they did things like they put signage on the virtual signage on the pitcher's mound, virtual signers behind the batter's box. And I would tell you that one of the things that sort of saved them, and quite frankly us, is virtual signage. You go back 10, 15 years, if the sign wasn't on the wall, you didn't see it on TV. Now you can almost do anything you want in these arenas, on ice, on the backboards for basketball, on the boards for hockey, on the field for football, that's virtual. So the people at home are seeing the sign. Nobody obviously, if there was someone in the stadium, wouldn't be seeing it. But it's been a boon, because those are things we never looked at or we never bought before. And we sort of felt that with nobody, especially in Philadelphia, with the rabid sports fans that we have, with nobody in the stadium, I just always assumed if the Phillies normally draw 30, 40,000 people. If they're not watching it in the stadium, there's 40,000 more eyes at home on television watching the game, or on the radio listening. So it gave us another avenue, or an expanded avenue in which to work, that we didn't have when people were in the stadium. Obviously, we lost a lot of our in-stadium activations that we do with fans and with the team. But we've sort of made up for that with different things we've done video-wise and audio-wise on the radio and on the television.
What kind of new things have you done on television in terms of creative or sponsorships? Or so tell us about maybe how TV investing has changed, and the kinds of innovations that you're doing and that the broadcasters are doing to sort of bridge the gap, if you will.
Well, again, I think a lot of it is virtual. There's signage that you never had before that we are seeing now, that is, again, all virtual. So you're seeing it on television. If we want to be on the ice on the Flyers, if we want to be on the court with the Sixers, on the boards with the Flyers, on the pitcher's mound with the Phillies, on the sidelines with the Eagles, we can do that virtually. And again, everybody from home, you don't realize, many people, that it's not on the wall, it's not on the field, it's not on the, but every game and every pitch and every foul shot and you're looking at, whether it be a Toyota logo or a saying or whatever it is, that you stay top of mind. And that's really what it's all about, is the eyeballs. I mean, there's more and more people hearing it, seeing it, that before there were a lot of things with, for example, MLB. You were never allowed to put anything on the field. I mean, the field was sacred ground. And they recognized that for example, the Phillies were losing tons and tons of revenue because we spend a lot of money on outdoor signage, on signs, up in the where the fans sit in the field or off the field, that you can't see on television. Maybe if there's a home run, the camera goes up there and you see it, but other than that, you're not looking at it. But for example, we had our logo on the pitcher's mound, and you get right down to it. Every pitcher's throwing the ball 90 times, 95 times. That's 180, almost 200 times that the camera's focused on the pitcher's mound, and they're looking at our logo. So it's if you compare it sort of to NASCAR, people sponsor NASCAR, they put their name on the team, and they hire people to actually watch these cars go round and around and around and keep track of how many seconds their name is on television. So we've sort of been relegated to doing the same thing, because again, with nobody in the stands, there's nobody seeing our signage live. So we're making sure that they see it on television. So I think that the stations themselves, the technology has changed tremendously, so they're able to do these things. And I think, much to their credit, a number of the leagues have adapted to letting the teams and the sponsors do things that heretofore they were not allowed to do. But they realize, the world revolves around a dollar bill, and it's all about revenue for them and for us. So when we're going to spend money, we want to make sure people are seeing are hearing or seeing our message, and at least seeing our logo or whatever message we might have out there. So I think that the teams themselves and the stations have been so much more innovative in coming up with ways in order for us to get our message across than they had to be before, because you just sort of took for granted there were 60, 70,000 people watching a football game and 40,000 people watching a baseball game, and less for hockey or for basketball. But there's also a ton of games, so there's people there every day. One of the things that we sort of lost was we do a lot of things in stadium. We have a car display at the Eagles stadium. We have a car display at the Phillies. Again, with nobody there, that was sort of rendered moot this year. And so we had to find other ways to get our message out there. Unfortunately, we did spend a little bit less money on our sports this year for individual teams, not so much on broadcasting, because as I said, I think the ratings have been terrific, because there's people that can't go to the game, so they're watching it. And quite frankly, we've been fortunate, not so much with some of the teams, but more so with others. When the teams do well, more and more people watch, and when the teams don't do quite as well, you lose a little bit of that viewership. But again, we're fortunate in Philadelphia because sports is what it's all about in Philadelphia, and people sort of watch. If the teams are doing bad, they watch and they call in and they scream and they holler, and if they're doing well, they watch and they call in and they still scream and holler. So we're in that kind of a market, and I've lived here my whole life. I recognize that's what it is, and we've been very fortunate that Toyota's allowed us to to follow that and make sure that we can make a great impact in that sports arena.